Well, here I am again. Just think, 92 years old, and we're going to tell some of the funny stories that have happened to me in my life. You know, we moved out to Westminster, and in a great big two-story house, and the gal across the street was working at Melodyland, and Melodyland was a big theater in the round, and it was across the street from Disneyland. And they just the gal across the street asked me if I'd like to be one of the ushers, and whoa, of course I said, "Are you kidding?" Yes, I would love to. Well, it didn't take long for me to take over the place, and I was moved up to the very front entrance, and I had to sweet talk the people if sweet talk the people if they didn't like their seats or any number of things that I did. I went and got the stars in the back, and whoo, there was this wonderful singer, Johnny Mathis. Oh my gosh, he was just so wonderful. We loved everything he sang. So he was there at a concert, and I went back to get him, and oops, now we're talking about back in the 60s. And oh, he's got a boyfriend, and they're having a big kissing scene back in the back room. And now, today, that's nothing. But back in the 60s, excuse me, Mr. Mathis, it's time for you to go on. And I guess that was probably his boyfriend. Oh, my goodness. And they don't, today that's nothing. But then it was kind of shocking. So, oh, he was wonderful. Now, you know what? Another surprise. There was another singer called Trini Lopez, and Frank Sinatra was a friend of his. And Frank came down with 2 busloads of people, and he waited till the lights were all off and it was dark. And I took all those people up to their seats because he didn't want to take away Trini's, because everybody would have looked at Frank Sinatra instead of Trini Lopez. So he was quite a good guy. And another one that did that was Tony Curtis. He had married that little young girl from Shakespeare, and oh my gosh, and he's sitting right on the corner, and the same thing. I brought him in the dark, and he left in the dark, so nobody took any their attention on Tony Curtis. They took just attention on the performer. And then we had a big a television show that was just huge, and it was Dr. Casey, and we all loved this guy. Oh my gosh, he was just handsome and everything, and we just were crazy about him. Well, it's in they halftime, and what, I can't think of the word, and on the
Intermission.
and shows this intermission is not halftime. Football's halftime, and so here's this great big theater, and here's the aisle going down over here, and he stands up at this aisle and walks all the way across, saying, "Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me," and walks all the way in front of the people instead of just walking right up the aisle so everybody could make sure they see him. Thought, oh, you jerk. And so nobody knew what a jerk he was. And there was another Tony Franciosa, another one did the same thing. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And the really classy guys, they came in the dark and left in the dark so nobody would see him. And that Casey guy and the other one was Tony Franciosi. He did the same thing. And darned if I didn't see him again many few years later, and and he was dating the girl that was up in the a big round thing with the go-go girl up in the top, and that's who he was dating. And the table, was a round kind of a table, and who's sitting at that table but Dean Martin with a girl, and Tony Franciosa is there also.